2 people have died in Georgia, and the first person has been killed in South Carolina as a result of Hurricane Irma after the powerful storm hammered Florida. Irma's eye finally left Florida at about 5:30 p.m. Monday, exiting the state as a weak tropical storm with 50-mile-per-hour winds. The National Hurricane Center says the storm center is over southwestern Georgia, about 10 miles east of Albany. It is forecast to take a northwest turn Tuesday morning, moving into Alabama.The death toll from the deadly storm continued to rise Monday after one person was reported dead in Sandy Springs, north of Atlanta. A 62-year-old man was also killed in Worth County Monday after climbing onto a shed as sustained winds in the area exceed 40 mph. The man's wife called 911 saying he suffered a heart attack, and first responders found his body lodged between 2 beams on the shed's roof with debris on top of him. Charles Saxon, 57, was cleaning limbs and debris outside his home in Calhoun Falls in South Carolina at about 3 p.m. Monday when a limb fell on him. He died at the scene.Irma crossed over into Georgia on Monday afternoon and was finally downgraded to a tropical storm after wreaking havoc on Florida. The storm's maximum sustained winds were down to 60 miles per hour as the storm was about 50 miles south-southeast of Albany and moving at 17 miles per hour. The situation is also dire in Charleston, South Carolina as officials declared a flash flood emergency. The powerful hurricane made landfall Sunday morning in Florida Keys as a Category 4 storm and then made its way up the Gulf Coast, knocking out power to some 7.2 million people in the southeast, swamping downtown Miami with storm surge and blowing the roofs off homes. More than 200,000 people waited in shelters across Florida as Irma headed up the coast. Communities along the Georgia coast are now seeing extensive flooding from Tropical Storm Irma. Irma's storm surge pushed water ashore at the high tide Monday afternoon, and heavy rainfall made the flooding even worse. Northern Florida and southern Georgia should keep getting soaked, with rain totals eventually accumulating to 8 to 15 inches. Isolated parts of central Georgia, eastern Alabama and southern South Carolina may get up to 10 inches of rain. The storm is now believed to have caused 10 deaths in the U.S., including 2 in the Florida Keys, which was under mandatory evacuation during the storm. Nearly 7.2 million homes and businesses across the southeast lost power, and utility officials said it will take weeks to restore electricity to everyone. More than 125,000 were in the dark in Georgia. Downtown Savannah was getting soaked Monday morning, with winds just strong enough to rustle treetops and shake small branches onto the roads. Impacts from the storm were expected throughout the day. The National Weather Service said the threat of storm surge had decreased Monday along Georgia's 100 miles of coast, but flooding rains could still cause swollen rivers, streams and creeks to overflow. Officials say at least one tornado has been reported in coastal Georgia. Strong winds and drenching rains from Tropical Storm Irma hammered the state. The National Weather Service also issued a flash flood emergency for Charleston, South Carolina, as heavy rains begin to move into areas already flooding by ocean surge from Tropical Storm Irma. Irma has now knocked out power to around 190,000 customers in South Carolina.The monster storm, which arrived in Florida as a Category 4 hurricane, has toppled at least 3 construction cranes, 2 over downtown Miami and 1 in Fort Lauderdale. People in the heavily populated Tampa-St. Petersburg area had feared a first direct hit from a major hurricane since 1921, but the storm weakened to a Category 2 as it approached that area. Florida Governor Rick Scott says there's damage across the state caused by Hurricane Irma, and it's still too dangerous for residents to go outside or return from evacuation. While Irma has been downgraded to a tropical storm over Florida, it still has winds near hurricane force, and that's causing continued storm surge on the East Coast. In Jacksonville, authorities are telling residents near the St. Johns River to evacuate as floodwaters quickly rise. The storm surge flooding in downtown Jacksonville has already exceeded a record set during a 1965 hurricane by at least a foot. A river gauge downtown on the Atlantic coast city measured 3